Talk with you about today is this dramatic shift that's going on in buyer behavior. Never before in the history of business have people changed so quickly and so dramatically the way they buy stuff. If I ask each and every one of our attendees today to identify this situation, what would you say? Oh, that's Times Square. But then I ask you what you see. And some people might say ads, other people might say a lot of color, other people say lights, and so forth and so on. But then I'll ask you a question. What does the millennial see when they're walking through Times Square? If you think about it, it's one thing and one thing only. It's their phone. The only way you can reach a millennial is through their phone. And all this activity of advertising and billboards and lights and color is completely lost. Now, this isn't a webinar about marketing to millennials. I can go into that in another day. But this is just a commentary on how all the old school tactics that we used to use that used to be very effective just aren't very effective any longer. So if I ask each and every one of the attendees about your company, you guys are over here on the left side. You're the black image, where if you said you have good service and good products, good systems, and a great staff, and you try to put out your marketing messages to get over here to these prospective clients, but you kind of get blocked by this big gray cloud called market noise. What's market noise? Market noise is things like your competition is yelling a little louder than you are, or maybe you're saying the right thing, but to the wrong people. Or worse yet, you're saying the wrong thing to the right people. Or maybe you're not delivering your message in a way that your target market wants to receive it. And I'm a good example of that. I'm on the road speaking to entrepreneurs and marketers pretty much once a week. And when I'm out for a couple of days, the staff at Square 2 Marketing puts my direct mail and all the other mail that comes in into my inbox. Well, when I get off the road, I like the way my inbox looks when it's nice and clean. So I dump all that direct mail because I would never take the time to go through it and look at those offers. I'm an email kind of guy. Always have my phone in my back pocket. So if you want to reach out to me, send me a compelling message via email, and if I'm interested, I'll bite. Too often, we're using the techniques that were used when the company was founded. And if you think about it, a family business might have been started in 1965. But we have to ask ourselves, what did the world look like in 1965? Completely different than it looks like today. But yet, our founders who founded those companies years ago, they were killing it. They were using all the tools at their disposal at the time, whether it be direct mail, cold calling, going to trade shows, print ads, in order to get that business off the ground. But if we continue to use those same tools, especially in light of the fact that buyer behavior has changed so dramatically because of the internet, we're just not going to get the results that we're looking for. So today I'm going to show you how to build a marketing bridge to get around these annoying market noise issues and get over to the right side where your prospective clients are waiting for you. Now, you might notice that on the right side, you have two different kinds of prospects. You have your dollar signs and you have your question marks. What's the difference between the two? Well, the dollar signs, they're the people that want to buy from you today. There's the person who calls up and says, hey, I heard your company's wonderful, and I'd like to speak with you about doing some business. They're easy. It's the question marks that are the problem. Those are the people that are really interested in hearing what you have to say, but they're not quite ready to buy yet or even reveal themselves. And while with instant gratification, we'd love to work on the dollar signs people because then we can get the sale this afternoon, it's actually the question mark people that are more important these days. You see, the power has shifted. Back in the old days, the only way I knew anything about your company was what I saw in your brochure or what your salespeople told me. But now, the buyers have the power. We can go online, we can look at your company, we can look at user reviews to see what people are saying about you, and we can even go to glassdoor.com and see what your employees are saying about you. So now the power is in the hands of the buyer. The question is, how do we give those prospective buyers the information they need to decide that we're the obvious choice to do business with? So let's show you how we do that. The next thing we have to talk about is all this stuff we didn't have just 10 years ago that now we can't live without. It's amazing. Look at this list. Now, I'm not telling you to stop what you're doing and become an internet marketer or a social media marketer, but I am saying that there's a lot of conversations going on out there right now about your company, and you have to participate in them. As a good example, I live in beautiful Bucks County, Pennsylvania, about halfway between New York and Philadelphia. Beautiful place to live and raise a family, beautiful place to have an office and work, but not the easiest place to get to. Because of that, it's kind of rural, and there's a lot of like bed and breakfast, very revolutionary era. A lot of George Washington slept here, and a ton of these bed and breakfasts. One day, one of the most famous of these bed and breakfasts calls my office, and they're like, yeah, we're not quite filling up the place like we used to. Thought maybe you guys could help us with some marketing. Oh, I'm flattered that they called. I know this place. We set the appointment, and I hang up. Well, think about it. Where's the first place I went to look to see what people were saying about this bed and breakfast? It was TripAdvisor. And what did I find? Staff's a little crabby. Food's not as good as it used to be. Rooms are a little dusty. No matter how much marketing we do, people aren't going to have a great experience, tell all their friends, put pictures on Facebook, and drive a lot of buzz. So I called the owner back and I say, listen, before our meeting next week, I just wanted to speak with you about some of the results that I saw on TripAdvisor. And he says, what's TripAdvisor? Well, he was an older fellow, so we'll give him a pass. But there was over 50 reviews for this bed and breakfast, and he didn't even know the conversation was going on. So once again, look for places in LinkedIn user groups and industry forums where people are talking about you, where your target market is congregating, and that's the place where you can really connect with them. So let's say you were looking for a new vendor. Let's use an example of an accounting firm. Think about it. Where's the first place you would go to look to find a new accounting firm? Well, you might be thinking Google as your first move, but it's actually not true. The first place that people go these days to look for a new partner is by asking for recommendations and referrals from either a friend or a family member, a coworker, or a colleague. Why? Because that's what makes us feel safe. When we get a recommendation for our buddy who says that they really enjoy the experience they're having with their accounting firm, well, then we feel safe enough to enter into a conversation. Now, in lieu of a good recommendation or referral, the second place we do go to look is Google. And with a fresh search page and a couple of keystrokes, we can pretty much find anything we're looking for. Well, if we all agree today that that's the way that people behave, then let me ask you this question. Why would you assume that your prospective buyers are behaving any differently? Now, I'm not going to ask you to spend more money on advertising or marketing today, but you know what I am going to ask you? To consider migrating some of the stuff that you're doing into inbound marketing, because simply that's going to be the way that you can match up with buyer behavior. Think about it. If I ask the hundreds of attendees on our webinar today, let's take a little poll and see how many have a referral marketing program. I bet the answer is quite small. But yet we agree that referrals are the best way to get business, and they're free. They come with a built-in testimonial. They're by far the best lead that we can get. And if I ask how many people are engaged in SEO or helping us get found on the internet, I'm also sure a smaller percentage than we'd like would actually raise their hand. So today, start considering migrating into the activities that match up with the way that people want to buy from you. Now, you can take my word for it, but let's look at some of these stats. Holy smokes, 90% trust peer recommendations. 84% will take action based on the opinions of others. And 75% of people rely on social media to inform them of purchasing decisions. These are hard numbers to ignore. Now, I'm a big fan of HubSpot. HubSpot is a marketing automation software that people use to manage their sales and marketing. HubSpot, being a very public company, puts out a survey at the end of every year, and they ask their customers, who are primarily business owners and marketers, hey, let us know where you're going to spend more money next year. And look at these results. Email marketing, blogs and social media, search engine optimization, and pay-per-click programs. That's where people are going to spend more money this year. Then they asked the question the other way. They said, where aren't you going to spend a lot of money this year? And look at these results. Direct mail, trade shows, and telemarketing. Why? Not because these older school activities are bad. It's just when you use software like HubSpot and you track everything in real time, you can see very quickly that some of those old school techniques don't quite pull like the new school techniques do. Check this out. If you're a B2B company, just under 50% of all leads come in through some internet-related source. And if you're B2C, it's even more aggressive. Just over 50% of leads come in via the internet. So once again, don't stop what you're doing to become an internet marketer, but please be aware that 1 out of every 2 of your prospective clients wants to connect with you via some digital format. The question is, are you ready to receive them? So in response to this dramatic shift in buyer behavior, I would love it if your company would consider going inbound. What's inbound marketing? Well, if you ask a lot of our peers out there that do inbound marketing, hey, describe to me what inbound marketing is, they'll typically start the conversation with content. You need white papers and videos and tip sheets and blog posts. And don't get me wrong, content is very important. In fact, it's the fuel for a good inbound marketing program, but it's not the first step. You need to bracket your content with two other steps: strategy on the front end and outreach on the back end. So what do I mean by these three? Well, strategy is simply understanding why someone should do business with you. Who's your perfect buyer? What pains and problems do they have, and how can you solve those problems in a remarkable way? In essence, it's your story. Now, once you have this great story that differentiates you, now you know what to write on your website. You know what to blog about. You know what to push out via email and social media, because now you have rich content that tells a remarkable story. But that's still not enough, because if the first step is strategy and the second step is building a foundation of content, then the third step, campaigns, is actually where the rubber meets the road. This outreach that I'm talking about is the question of finding the right people that you want to do business with, understanding where they get their information from, and then putting your story in front of them, sprinkling in a few offers, and driving them back to your website so you can start a conversation with them. Those campaigns are now ongoing, always creating new content, but always putting it in front of the right people. But today, in our time together, I really want to focus on strategy, because strategy is the secret sauce. If you nail the strategy, to be honest, the rest of this stuff actually becomes quite easy. So here's a story of perhaps one of the most unsexy companies in the entire universe. They're called Arbil, and they sell safety products: boots, gloves, protective eyewear, hard hats, stuff like that. And when the owner started the business about 20 years ago, he was all about how much stuff can I sell people, and he did pretty well. But then his daughter took over about 4 or 5 years ago, and we started to have the same conversation I'm having with our folks today. Why should I do business with Arbil? What's the big story? And in one of our meetings, the owner mentioned, gosh, if all of the employees of the factories and warehouses and distribution centers that we sell to, if all those employees went home safe each night, I'd be good. And that gave us a lot of thought. The big story now at Arbil is, how do we get people home safely each night? In fact, the rallying cry is, he goes home safe tonight, that's what we do. All right, that's a little bit of a different story. And now we let that story cascade down into their website. And you can see here, it doesn't say take 10% off hard hats today only. It has this ticker showing that 337,086 people went home safe last night because of Arbil. Okay, that's a little bit different. This company blogs every single day about how to get people home safely. They do a video showing places in factories and warehouses where people might get hurt. And they'll even fly a guy out to your place to give you a free safety audit to help you see where people might get hurt and not make it home safe each night. So now we got the great story and we got the great content. The last part about it is, how do we reach these tough guys? And I mean seriously tough guys. Warehouse managers and facilities guys, not the easiest guys to sell to. But what happened is we uncovered that these safety managers and facilities managers, they hang out in LinkedIn user groups, they read certain blogs, and then offline they go to conferences, they read certain magazines, they follow key opinion leaders. Our job was to put Arbil's story in front of them, sprinkle in a few offers like white papers, tip sheets, and webinars, drive them back to the website, and convert them into someone we can now sell to. Well, what happened at the end of the day is that we made a very strong emotional connection with the buyers. Because who would you rather do business with? Someone who wants to sell you something, or someone who really wants to help your people get home safe each night? So that's a good example of the 3 steps of a good inbound marketing program. Having a great story, let it cascade down into the content, and then push it out via campaigns. The HubSpot tool, by clarification, is only about 10% of our conversation today. That's the technology backbone that keeps this all organized. But at the end of the day, the story is really the most important part. So today I'd like you to draw a line in the sand. Stop thinking old school and start thinking new school. Let's leave some of these old school techniques on the left behind. Advertising, TV, billboards, print, radio, and telemarketing, and spam. The stuff on the left, the outbound marketing, it still works. But you have to have an unlimited marketing budget. Because if you've ever taken any advertising classes, you know that the secret is reach and frequency. How many people can I reach, and how frequently can I bang them on the head to remind them that I'm out here? Now, none of the clients that we work with, entrepreneurial and middle market companies, have unlimited marketing budgets. So we just got to be a little bit smarter about how we spend our dollars. And that's why migrating to the activities on the right, the inbound marketing side, will give you a much higher return on investment. Get found on the internet, create videos, ebooks, white papers, educational webinars. Make sure that your website is available in all formats, and make sure that all your email is permission-based. See, that's where people give you permission to speak to them, to build a case while you're the obvious choice to do business and do it through content. If you do it that way, it's a much higher return on investment, much less interruptive than that old school advertising, and a good match with the way people want to buy from you. So to bring it all together, I'll tell you the story of my car. This is it. It's a Mini Cooper. Now, if you've ever met me personally or seen me speak, you'll know that I'm not the smallest guy in the world, and you might be surprised that I drive a Mini Cooper. But it was very interesting because that's exactly the way I was feeling. You see, my kids are a little older now, and they're out of the house, so I was free to choose any car I wanted to. But I kind of discounted the Mini Cooper because, frankly, it looked a little small for me. And then one day, one of my clients pulls up to the Square 2 marketing offices, and he's in a Mini Cooper, and he's about my size. And I say to him, "Hey, man, you fit in that thing?" And he goes, "Absolutely. It's very comfortable for two people. No backseat to talk about, but for two people, it's quite nice." And then he said the line that hooked me. He said, "This car drives like a tiger and sips gas." Ooh, this might be my next car. So I go into the Mini Cooper dealership in suburban Philadelphia, and of course, when I get in there, I'm a little worried that I'm going to be attacked by a bunch of salespeople because that's been my experience when I've bought cars before. But that's not what I got at the Mini Cooper dealership. I met a nice young man by the name of Mark O'Neill. He comes up to me and he says, "Hey, what can I do for you?" I said, "Well, I'm thinking about buying a Mini." He says, "Great, let's go for a test drive." And he grabs the keys and off we go. Think about it. What do you normally have to give the car dealer if you want to do a test drive? License, insurance, you got to meet the manager. They make a whole to-do about it when all you want is the content. What is it like to drive this car to help me in my buying decision? And for the next 20 minutes, we were off and running, and we did have some fun. He's making fun of me because I'm not driving fast enough, and the Mini's kind of high performance. And then he's showing me where all the controls are, and I'm laughing because I'm used to German or Japanese, and this is British, so everything's in the wrong place. When we get back to the showroom, I tell him, "I'll take it." He says, "No, can't take your money." I said, what's that all about? I never heard of a car dealer that wouldn't take my money. He says, "Look, you could buy a Mini Cooper off the lot right now, no problem, but you're going to miss the whole experience of building your own Mini Cooper online." I asked what that was about. He explained, and he said, "Don't worry. At the end, there's a place for my name and email address. I'll take care of the paperwork." Great. I go home. My lovely wife, Bonnie, opens the door. She says, "Hey, where's the new car?" I said, "You know what? They wouldn't let me buy one." I explained the situation to her, and together we sat down and built our Mini Cooper Clubman S in the color hot chocolate. Now, Mini really understands inbound marketing. They let the marketing carry the day. I would like to emphasize how they let me walk out of the dealership without providing a deposit. Amazing. They were so confident that the marketing would win the day that they could sell cars. Also, think about it from a sales perspective. When you go to a Chevy dealer, there's 20 or more people on the floor trying to influence, coerce, persuade, and twist people's arms into buying Chevys. But at the Mini dealer, there's only 3 because they don't have to sell anyone anything. They simply have to guide them through the process. And that's the difference between old school and new school inbound sales. Now, how Mini does it is with a marketing funnel. The marketing funnel is bringing someone from the awareness stage, which is where they're just searching to solve a problem, to the consideration stage in the middle where they have a few firms that they're interested in, like to do business with, down to the bottom in the validation stage where they want to validate that they've made the right choice. Every company needs one of these funnels. Now, some companies are really good at the top of the funnel, and some companies are really good at the bottom of the funnel, but very few companies really have all of them nailed. And that's really a challenge, because if you don't have all the steps in the process, then people aren't going to feel safe, buy from you, and refer all their buddies. So let's go through this a little bit. The first thing at the top of the funnel is when people find out about your company. Number one, they will go to your website. 9 out of 10 people, Google tells us, will go to your website before they'll ever pick up the phone and call you. 9 out of 10. Now, when they get to your website, you don't want them just snooping around. You want to convert them. And by convert them, I mean getting their contact information in exchange for some piece of content that you can give them as a fair deal. At the top of the funnel, we use very light, small pieces of content, like tip sheets and white papers and ebooks and free reports. Something just light enough that someone will be willing to gamble their email address in order to get some valuable information. In the middle of the funnel, now that we've converted them and we have their email address, we can reach out to them and ask them to get a little closer to us. And in the middle of the funnel, we have things like webinars and workshops, free consultations, demos, all things like that. The difference between the middle of the funnel and the top of the funnel is simply that I have to give you more of my time. I have to reveal myself completely. And as we know, people don't want to do that unless they feel safe. But here's where it gets exciting. Think about your prospect. They heard about your company. They went to your website. They downloaded your white paper. They watched a few videos. They signed up for a webinar. They had a free consultation. By the time they get down to the bottom of the funnel, well, they're all greased up. They've heard your song and dance. They know the reasons why you're the obvious choice to do business with, and it makes it a lot easier to close that deal. You see, what happens is a lot of salespeople, they meet someone for the first time, and then they start to give them a quote without really getting to know them. And that's the same thing as going to a cocktail party, meeting someone for the first time and asking them to marry you. It just doesn't work. You got to build a relationship. So once again, building of the funnel and all the steps in between is crucial to having a good marketing message package. Now, when you look at this, there's a lot of steps on this buyer's journey that I keep talking about. You have strangers who we need to attract, and once we attract them to our website, we want to make sure we convert them into someone that we can either market to or sell to. And then once we have that, we want to turn them into customers, so we need to close that deal. And then finally, we got to make them so darn happy in your engagement or the product that you sell them that they become your promoter and they tell all their buddies about you. Does this building of this system look like a giant pain in the butt? Yes, it is. But once you have it built for the first time, man, it's an ongoing, replicable, and scalable marketing machine. Constantly attracting new people, making them happy, telling all their buddies, and starting it all over again. And just a quick word about marketing automation software. Tools like HubSpot make it easy for you to build out this kind of marketing machine because the modules that it offers are geared towards helping you take someone from click to close, from the first time they click through to your website until the time they actually close the deal. And once again, HubSpot, being very affordable, is a very powerful tool for building a process or system that you can take people through to establish the fact why they should do business with you. So, the next thing I want to talk about are the 5 best points of a great inbound marketing program. Let's go through these. Number 1, everything you do must be quantifiable. There is no more just getting your name out there and hoping. That just doesn't work anymore. And with tools that we have like Google Analytics and the HubSpot tool, it becomes quite easy to track to see what's working and what's not. If it is working, well, we can double down on that and make more money. And if it's not working, we can either fix it or get rid of it. The challenge is that most companies don't track efficiently where their marketing spend is going for. So they really don't have any idea of whether our marketing is working or not. And here's a good example. This is one of my favorite billboards. This is Budweiser's Great American Lager. If I went to the marketing manager at Budweiser and I said to her, "Excuse me, can you tell me how many cases of beer you sold from this specific billboard?" Could she give me the answer? No way. This is all about institutional advertising, brand share, mind share, market share, stuff I don't know too much about. I'll tell you what I do know, though. Budweiser's got a gazillion of these billboards across North America, and each billboard costs somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 per month. When you multiply that, that's a lot of money for a program that you don't know whether it's working or not. And that's the big challenge with big time advertising, is that you can't really track it. So let's make a little change. Let's add a lot of copy to this billboard. What if we said, for the 9 greatest Super Bowl party ideas, go to bud.com/Super Bowl. If we only used that website address on the billboard campaign, would we kind of know how many people are checking out our billboards? Sure. And what would I have to give Budweiser in order to get the 9 greatest Super Bowl party ideas? Trade in my email address, like them on Facebook, follow them on Twitter, some conversion like we talked about earlier. And now that I have this database of Budweiser lovers who are also interested in the Super Bowl, couldn't I email them specials and coupons and introduce new Bud products via email and social and blogging? Sure, and none of that costs any money. So that's where a big change between big company advertising and entrepreneurial company advertising is so very evident. Number 2, it's got to be about them and not about you. If I start talking about, if I ask you about your kids, you could talk about your kids all day. But the second I start talking about my kids, you're polite for a minute or two, and then you kind of zone out. Because now it's not about you. Now it's about Eric. And that's a problem. Too often in marketing, we fall down that same hole. We are talking about our 23,000 square foot facility and the fact that we're family owned and operated and we've been around 23 years. All good validating points, but not the lead story. The lead story has to be about me, the guy who has problems and I'm looking for some solutions. But don't worry, I have a solution for you. Take any piece of marketing collateral, whether it be your website, your email campaign, a blog post, or so forth, and do what's called the red and blue test. Every time you talk about yourself, circle it in red. And every time you talk about your prospective or current clients and what you could do to help them, circle it in blue. Folks, you just got to have a lot more blue circles than red circles. This is a company that spreads fertilizer on your lawn to make your grass green. At the end of every season, they send this letter to their subscribers asking them to subscribe again. The owner of the company calls me up and he's like, hey, I'm not quite pulling like I used to on this letter. Can you give me some help? I'm like, sure, send it over. Take out my red pen, take out my blue pen, and wouldn't you know it, lots and lots of red circles. The owner was literally talking about how many vehicles the company owns. Well, when you hire someone to fertilize your lawn, you only care about one thing, green grass. And you don't care if they bring it over from 10 miles away in a wheelbarrow as long as your lawn is looking good. So we rewrote the letter on the right, focusing on the recipient. We talked about how your lawn will be the envy of the neighborhood and how it might be mistaken for a golf course. And how you can picture having a family picnic this summer because the materials that we use are safe for kids and pets. The letter on the right outperformed the letter on the left 18-1. Now that's nice results, and honestly, I'm not the brightest bulb on the tree. All our team did is make the letter about the person who's opening it and not the person who's mailing it. So I guarantee you a flip-flop in your strategy of talking more about the pains and problems of your prospective clients will give you an immediate pop in your marketing results. If I can have your attention to the screen for a second, I would love you guys to tell me what these people do for a living. Everybody ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Now, why did I only give you 3 seconds to look at that website? Why? Because that's all you get on the internet. You know what that company did? They made paper. Really hard to understand what they do from their current homepage. Here's their big logo and their big factory. Here's the owner's picture, and here's the owner's daughter down below. Look at the first 4 navigation clicks on the left. Who we are, our mission, message from the Aaron family, and our management team. Well, what should this website look like? Let's start with who goes there, people who buy paper. So what if we had like a 45-year-old paper buyer-looking person, whatever that looks like, with a strong headline that says, who can help me select the right paper for my next project? What happens there is that all those paper buyers that are coming to this website, they connect. They go, hey, that's just like me. They take the time to go inside and read all about the company. So that's really critical to make that emotional connection. Here's a company that does it right. They're called Fielco Adhesives. They make adhesives for manufacturers. The person in the picture is the plant manager, looking a little concerned because he needs an adhesive for a new application. Hey, that's just like me. In this case, you could watch a video, download a white paper, and see down below what makes the company remarkable. So once again, for very little effort and time of switching the messaging on your homepage from being about them and not about you, once again, I guarantee you a nice pop in marketing results. The third thing we have to talk about is that inbound marketing is very goal-oriented. We can track everything. But you'd be blown away how many people don't take the time to figure out how much marketing they need. All week, people are saying, hey, Eric, how much should I spend on marketing? And I say, I don't know. How much do you want to grow your business? Because if you're a $1 million company and you want to grow by 10%, you really don't need too much marketing. Some good execution and a few referrals should get you there. But if you're a $20 million company and you want to be a $30 million company, yeah, you need some decent marketing because we have to drive enough sales leads to keep our salespeople busy. Now, I'm going to show you a technique that shows you how much you should be spending on marketing. You need 3 pieces of information: how much you want to grow, what a typical good client will spend over the course of the year, and what your close rate is. In this case, we have a company that's going to go from $10 to $12 million in sales. So they're looking for a $2 million increase in their revenue. They know that typically, on average, every client spends about $25,000. And their close rate is half. 50% of all the people they pitch end up doing business with them. Now watch this. If we need a $2 million increase and we divide it by the $25,000 average engagement size, that means we need about 80 new accounts. Well, wait a minute. If we need 80 new accounts, that means we need 160 sales opportunities because our sales team has a 50% close rate. Now, what you don't know is that we typically apply a 3 to 5 times rule over the number of sales opportunities you need for the amount of total contacts that you need to generate. So in this case, 3 to 5 times would mean that we'd have to generate a program of around 400 to 600 contacts over the course of the year to get 160 sales opportunities and subsequently 80 new accounts. Pretty straightforward stuff. Now, if any of you think that 400 to 600 contacts over the course of the year is a little bit high, well, if you divide it by the 250 workdays in the United States, that's only 1 or 2 leads a day. Certainly manageable for most companies to handle. Now, if this company wanted to go from 10 million to 20 million, all these numbers would simply be 5 times as large. And that's the way you estimate a good marketing program. Now, once you have this estimate, you can start to project. How many people do we need to come to our website? How many of those do we need to convert into our database? How many of those are going to be marketing leads? How many of those are going to be sales leads? And if we close them on our traditional rate, how much revenue will we generate? This is a very, very simple exercise where now you have a plan for the year, and you know what to match performance to each month by looking at website traffic and conversions, sales opportunities, and revenue. Now, once you have this information, you can plug it into the HubSpot software. Let the software do the tracking, and then we'll know how many people came to our website, how many people opened our emails, how many people viewed our landing pages, how many people subscribed to our blog. It's all right there for you that the software will generate. And now it'll give you a good idea of exactly what your budget should be. Number 4, you got to choose activities with a really high return on marketing investment. Too often, we're not happy with the way that we get the return from a traditional program. For example, it's a lot of money to go to a trade show. You need airfare and hotels and steak dinners and your booth and all the union people to move everything around. It's very pricey. But if we're spending 50 grand on a trade show, well, we better get back 500 grand in revenue. And that 10 to 1 return is what we're looking for all the time. To make it a little easier, you might want to consider using something like the webinar. This is a company called Hard Metrics, and they do software for the call center industry. Back in the old days, they used to do telemarketing and direct mail, but now they started this webinar program, and they promote the heck out of it. They push it out on their social media. They send out email invitations. Their salespeople are personally inviting prospective clients, and of course, they put it on their homepage. And every quarter, they get about 100 people that register. The problem is when you do a free webinar, it's about half on the drop-off, so half the people only show up. Well, it might not sound like a lot, but after this nice problem-solving conversation with some high-energy brainstorming, the company, Hard Metrics, typically closes 1 deal per quarter. Once again, doesn't sound like a lot, but the average engagement size at Hard Metrics is about $100,000. So if you do that every quarter, you're doing $400,000 worth of business, all for the cost of $50 a month for the WebEx software and a little bit of time and creativity to put it together. That's the kind of high return on investment that we're looking for. And then finally, the 5th point, and I hope one of our biggest takeaways together, is that your marketing has to be remarkable. If you don't have anything interesting to say, please don't spend any money on marketing. You're just going to look like everybody else. Having a great story and differentiating you is the key. Well, your job as business leaders is to position your company as so remarkable that people say, wow, I want to do business with you. However, if you have nothing interesting to say and you have 3 companies that all look the same, like we said, you simply buy from the cheapest. And that's not a position that anybody wants to be in. So here's a quick story about a business that obviously requires no marketing. It's called Big Red Pedal Tours in Philadelphia, and it's actually owned by me, your presenter. This is a 15-passenger bicycle that takes bachelorettes on 2-hour pub crawls in Old City, Philadelphia. Sound interesting? Sure does. Doesn't require a stitch of marketing. The thing sells itself by word of mouth and, of course, being seen on the street. It's amazing. Now, when I'm talking about being remarkable, people are pointing at this thing and taking pictures and putting it on Facebook, and that's the kind of buzz that you want from your company. So I bought this business, and then I bring these thirsty bachelorettes to bars, and when I'm at these bars, I charge the bars to bring these people to them. The problem is that when I started doing some mathematics, I realized, holy smokes, I'm bringing these bars a lot of business. So I need my own bar. Now I bought my own bar, and it's called Silence Do Goods Tavern. And immediately when we opened it up, we directed the bike traffic to it, and now it is incredible. But there was this pizza shop attached to it, and I didn't know what to do with it. The pizza shop was called Soho Pizza, named after the New York neighborhood. And we're from Philly, so we don't like anything about New York, so it just was a mismatch. We shut the place down, we cleaned it up a little bit, and we reopened under the new name, Big Ass Slices. And while that might be offensive to some, it sure is generating a lot of buzz. A big ass slice is just a quarter of a pizza, where typically you would get an eighth of a pizza. And now when people come in, they can choose if they want a big ass slice or a little ass slice. Every 5 minutes, some family is taking a picture of our $300 neon sign, putting it on Facebook, and once again, another business that requires no marketing. Now, I'm introducing you to these silly businesses that I run on the side because I like to have fun marketing. But think about yourself. If you had a great story that people were talking about, you wouldn't have to spend too much marketing on in your company either, because word of mouth would be spreading. So let's look at some traditional examples. If any of you in the audience today, can you guys hear me? I got a message from Tom Grable. He says he lost the sound. Throw me a chat if you can hear me. Oh, I see other people. Sorry, Tom. Hope you can get back on. So if anybody in the audience has ever built a new house from scratch in a development, they know that one of the pains of building a new house is that you're dying to see the progress. Now, some people that live far away or don't have the time to go, their pain is even more exasperated because they're dying to see the progress. So we said to this builder a little while ago, hey, let's get some of these $49 webcams and stick them on a little pole right at the construction site and allow people to see the progress of their new house through the internet. Well, this solves all sorts of problems, and you don't have to spend too much money because the webcams are only $49. And what we're going for is this call. Man, you're not going to believe it. This builder lets me see the progress of my new house on the internet. Folks, this call is worth gold. Would you rather go to a regular Italian restaurant or this place where this guy pops out periodically and sings opera? Well, if you think about it, how much do you think they have to pay the opera guy? A lot or a little? Well, the answer is a little, because there's not too many places to sing opera in public. And this guy's psyched to get this gig. And maybe they give him a little spaghetti and meatballs at the end of the night and call it a day. The question is, how many Italian restaurants are there in your hometown? I bet you there's a lot. And this restaurateur figured out a way to make their restaurant remarkable simply by adding the opera singer. So look for places where you could differentiate as well. And here's my third and last example of being remarkable. This is the company I told you about earlier that spreads fertilizer on your lawn to make your grass green. How could that possibly be remarkable? Well, in Philadelphia, around March 15th, everybody comes out of their house, and their lawn's all beaten up from all the snow and the ice from a long, hard winter. And some people say, you know, this year I'm going to get someone to fertilize my lawn. Now, in the old model, they'd have to call True Green or ChemLawn or Scott's. And they'd send that guy out, you know, the guy with the stick and the wheel at the end, and he walks around your property measuring it to see how much it's going to be. He goes back to the office, he talks to the boss, and finally they call you and say it's going to be $49 an application. At Happy Lawn, when you call, they simply ask for your address, and they call up Google Maps and public tax records. Now they can see that you have an acre of property and a couple of weeping willows in your backyard, and based on what you see, it's going to be $49 an application. Would you like to get started today with Visa, MasterCard, or American Express? Now, the remarkable in this story is not about the product itself, fertilizer, but how they treat people. And in essence, they've cut the sales cycle from 2 weeks down to 2 minutes. Heck, they're signing up people before the other guys can even get out there. So look for places in your business where customer service can also be a competitive advantage. So let's wrap it all up. If anybody in the audience has ever heard about Gary Vaynerchuk, he's an interesting guy. He rolls into his parents' $2 million liquor store in central New Jersey, and he turns it into a $70 million a year business with all the stuff that we've been talking about today. This is his homepage. Now, does this look Hollywood production to you? No way. These are three chuckleheads talking about which wine to bring to a Jets tailgate party. This is Gary in the middle, and the two guys on either side won a little public relations contest so they could sit with Gary. Now, if anybody knows the average amount of time that someone will watch a YouTube video, it's about 2 minutes. Check this out. This video is 30 minutes and 37 seconds long, and he gets over 50,000 views for every one of his video episodes. Why? Because wine lovers love talking about wine too. And Gary understands that and gives them tons and tons of content on wine so it can help them buy new and interesting bottles of wine. Look at all the promotion on this website. You can follow them on Twitter, follow them on Facebook,
email campaign, read the book that they wrote, Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook fan page, Gary's Monthly Wine Club. How much does all that stuff cost in comparison to traditional liquor advertising? A lot or a little? Oh, quite a lot less. And yet, they're driving tons and tons of traffic without using traditional advertising. Where does it say buy wine? How could you drive $70 million worth of business? Well, in this case, you got to join the wine club. So once again, inbound marketing strategy can be applied to almost every single business out there. So thanks so much for sitting in on our 45-minute lunch and learn. I just have a few minutes left, and I'd like to give you an offer. Take some time to go to this website address, square2marketing.com/bluesheet. And once again, if you want the slide deck from today's presentation, we'll be more than happy to send it to you so you can share it with your teammates or leadership team. Our second offer is that on that same page, if you wanted to register for a free marketing evaluation or a website grader, we'd be more than happy to help you free of charge, no strings attached, and all in the essence of continuing the learning. So once again, that same page, square2marketing.com/bluesheet, you can either get the slides or register for an event. Now, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their busy day to join us on this webinar. You could be doing a lot of other things besides talking about inbound marketing strategy. So please go to square2marketing.com/bluesheet, fill out the information, get some of those materials, sign up for an evaluation, and most importantly, connect with me personally. We're always pushing out tons and tons of content on how to run an inbound marketing program, and we're more than happy to share. So thanks, everybody. We really appreciate you guys sitting in. It's been about 45 minutes. The recorded version of this is also available, and you can fill that out on the sheet as well. So I hope everybody has an amazing day. Thanks for sitting in, and I hope your inbound marketing kicks some serious butt. Have a good day, everybody.